Hmm. Can I show you this? I'm literally sitting here listening to my stomach make noises. It's always like, where do I start? It doesn't matter how long goes in between videos. First of all, nobody's watching these anyway. There, my cat's trying to get it. Doesn't matter how many people you can hear me on. I should have started talking. It's like 3:30. I haven't been asleep yet. I never stay up this late. Usually I wake up at this time. I've been noticing that my circadian clock has been flipping, um, at least for the weekend, but I've also noticed it like the last couple days. Definitely like before New Year started. I was assuming that it was because I was usually like I'm working on a project and our company's working on a project. Usually at around those times, I start to let go of my restrictions on time and kind of just do what's needed to be done. Hold on a second. You coming in or what? Come in. You see her? Yeah. Probably can't see her. My cat Tink just came in. Sorry. I just dropped the phone on her head. She's pissed now. I didn't mean to do that. So, back to what I was saying. Um, yeah, I kind of, I start letting go of time at certain points in my life. Usually, when I have something due or when I have to work on something, right? That's usually when I kind of let go of my time restrictions. And even now, just saying this, I realize that the freedom that I have to let go of things, I only choose to wield when I feel like I'm under some type of external pressure, right? And so we can get into that and how fucking crazy that is and how that's giving away your power and all that type of shit. But the reality is that generally I don't experience this state of time dilation or time expansion or time flipping. I'm pretty regular actually. I'm actually pretty disciplined and regimented. Ask anybody who knows me. I've been getting better and better. I've been going to sleep at 9, all that type of stuff. And the reason is because for the longest time, around this time, I was getting woken up like like a lot, and fucking Microsoft Office won't download on this computer. Now I understand why there's so many issues. So, yeah, to close this shit down. Fucking when you run a global company, people message you at all times of the day. uh, Abdulaziz, man, what's up, dude? Yeah, I know you don't watch these, but I talk about you a lot because you're always messaging me, man. So the the point is I believe that time's an illusion. I believe that we create time for the purpose of understanding, right? For the purpose of learning, for the purpose of experience. But I think that we get really attached to our experience and our understanding. And what I've been noticing more and more is this thing that we call us or these possessions that we think we have, as Eckhart Tolle would say, are just energy. It's just energy. So this sensation of being, this sensation of self, is a thick, constrictive energy for the most part for most people. And there's a way that you can get beyond that. And as I'm saying this, I realize the danger in telling you this because you're probably going to go out and try to get beyond this, and that's not how it works. Actually, the way it really works is by ultimate surrender, right? So there's nothing that you can actually do yourself by your will other than surrender that can get this done. And I think this is where a lot of us in the New Age spiritual community kind of fall short in even Tony Robbins is to blame for this a little bit when we believe that we can change our state at will. Now, I'm not saying you can't, right? You definitely can. But you have to basically be karmically entitled to be able to do that. And for the most part, when you think you're changing your state at will, what really you're doing is listening to internal guidance that's telling you what you're currently feeling isn't what you're supposed to be feeling, so now you need to feel this, right? There's another level to that, and this is what I'm starting to realize, is there's another level of complete surrender, where you basically, you don't care, you're not attached to your energy level, you're not attached to your alertness, you're not attached to your quote unquote consciousness. All these things are energy, right? They're not yours, they're just energy. And eventually, when you begin to release the attachment and the constriction to these things, you start to feel a little bit more lighter. I've been noticing personally that, first of all, like during my meditations, I'm not there anymore. Like, at least my body isn't, right? And I can't tell you where I am because that part of my mind is not conscious yet, right? So it just goes blank. But what I can tell you is I don't feel my body anymore when I meditate. And for the longest time, I've been meditating for 5 years now. For the longest time, all I was trying to do was make it so that my body was more comfortable, right? And so for a lot of us who have come through trauma in our lives, traumatic experiences growing up, Dr. Gabor Mate wrote an amazing book called The Body Keeps the Score. I'm still working my way through it because it brings a lot out of me that is uncomfortable, right? But basically what the book is all about is how really no matter what you experience in your life, your body is going to keep some type of record of it, right? And it's these records that most of us are trying to clear up, right? These debts that we carry, this sin, this pain, this trauma that we have been burdened with from our early upbringing. It slows us down. It keeps us tight, right? And we kind of get attached to that identity of the quote unquote victim, or the somebody who's seen some shit or been through some things, right? And really what we're supposed to be doing is releasing all that so that we can become more of nothing, right? But because so many of us have no true identity, or we believe we have no true identity, we need to derive it from our experience. And what I've been told, what I've been taught throughout my life is it's all about the art of letting go, right? So even if you've been victimized, it's about the art of letting go of that victimization, of letting go of that experience, that pain, that trauma, that hate that you hold on to. Even if you've accomplished something, they say what got you here won't get you there. If you're trying to get to the next point in your life, if you're still attached to what you accomplished previously, you're not going to be able to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish going forward, because you're still going to be holding on to that thing. A lot of people, when they leave relationships, which I'm currently doing, they get attached to the experience that they had before rather than engaging with the new one, because the new is unknown. The stuff you had before is familiar, right? And so people will constantly bring themselves back into patterns because they believe that that's what they should be experiencing. A lot of this is caught up in identity, what you believe you're worth, but also most of the time it's just familiar, right? It's. And I was thinking about this, something, I can't remember what movie it was. Maybe it's Blade, where they're talking about like the vampires and then the familiars, right? The familiars are the ones who hang out with the vampires. If you think about it, that's real deep, right? Because the vampires are the ones who suck your energy, right? Who basically, they get filled up by you, right? And then you get drained. So they suck in all your good positive energy, whatever, and then you feel drained, right? But you're still hanging out with them. And that makes you a familiar. So if you go and try and hang out with somebody who's high vibe or high vibration after you hang out with somebody who drains your energy, you're basically going to be doing the same thing that person was doing to you, and they'll see you as an energy drain as well. And so this is a game of polarity, right? This is a game of energy. This is a game of understanding what is you and what is not you, understanding truth versus illusion, right? Light versus dark, so to speak. And it all has to do with your understanding of time, believe it or not, right? And what you believe the purpose of time is, right? So if you believe the purpose of time is to, like, that it just exists and eventually one day you'll stop experiencing it, or eventually one day you'll die or leave time, then you're going to be basically in for a rude awakening, right? And you're going to realize that this light versus dark stuff, this polarity stuff, this energy stuff doesn't stop, right? And that's the thing is, we're all on our own journey back to God, so to speak. But what we don't realize, and what I try to get people to understand, is even beyond this lifetime, this dimension, this experience, these things still exist. These intangibles that make life worth living, and then also make life like hell. Basically, these energies will still be there, right? And if you read the law of one, the raw contact, you'll hear that eventually, after a certain density, that energy goes away. But it's actually not true, right? Because believe it or not, the energy is there all the way up next to God. That's why they say Jesus sits at the right hand of God, and the devil, Satan, sits at the left hand of God, right? So what that means is that you'll always, 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 always experience some type of polarity, some type of duality, until you reach your infinite nature of godliness, which is ultimately the atonement, the reunion with Source. But even beyond that, God still has polarities that he has to deal with, right? And if you think about it, it's more like it's more of the fucking Matrix, man. This shit blew me away. I had to turn it off as soon as the program he made met him, in real life. That tripped me out because I'm a programmer. But what I realized is that God experiences his creations, right? And so if God's creations go off and miscreate, even though in the spiritual community and even the highest texts that we study tell us that God overlooks this, God doesn't notice it, God only knows love, God still experiences the densities, God still experiences the polarities, right? This is how God knows what is true and what's not true. This is why they say God is the ultimate judgment, like nothing gets past him, because he's creating both. Yeah, and so he needs to experience the negative side of things just as much as he needs to experience the positive side of things, because it's in that polarity where God gets to grow. And this if you get deeper into this stuff, you understand as above, so below. So what that means at the ground level for your experience, God incarnate on earth, is you still need to experience positive and negative. And even beyond that, you're going to create positive and negative through your experience, right? So there are some people you're going to love, there are some people you're going to hate, and you're not going to be able to get away from that, right? And the real transcendent idea is that in truth it doesn't matter, right? Because once you see them, this is why Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. Love God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. Because one, here on earth, you are God, right? You create your own experience and your own reality, at least your own perspective. And if you end up loving your neighbor as yourself and you cancel out all that negative energy that you've been creating, and it materializes, alchemizes into love, connection, union, unity, brotherhood, right? Because entropy in the universe is the absence of love, right? And so every single thing will decay towards entropy until love or consciousness is put into the system, right? And for me, I see this everywhere I look. I see this everything I do, whatever, even when I'm working on projects, when I'm writing code, when I'm engaging with people, when I'm not engaging with people. And this is where, some people's bad habits of being a savior will kind of work against them, because they'll believe that they need to be involved in everything, right? This is where you get real intensive like control freaks and all that type of stuff. But the truth is that the love is always there, right? And so what's not there is the recognition of the love that's always there, right? And that is on the responsibility of the individual, but not only the individual, of the people around them that are aware, that understand that this person is not yet there. And that's the hardest thing, man. That's the hardest thing. Getting people who aren't there to recognize that the thing they're looking for is there. It's right there. It's right there. And that's the purpose of time. That's the purpose of time. To experience these things, and then to basically let all the other versions of you or versions of God that are experiencing these things, to let them know as well that what they're looking for, what they're seeking for, what they think they're experiencing is ultimately love in its highest form. And that's why we don't recognize it, right? That's why they say the fish don't know they're in water. It's all we exist in is love, right? And if you think about it, it makes sense, because if you go out into space, you die. You die, right? If you take one step out into space, you die. But if you take one step outside your house, you probably breathe in some fresh air, right? Like, you don't die. And if that was as above, so below, you would die just by walking outside, and that doesn't happen, right? And so what that means is there's a protection of love around you, whether it's protected by the earth or the atmosphere, or it's the police roaming your town to make sure that nobody attacks you while you walk outside, or even if it's just the trees that are giving you the oxygen that you need to breathe in. Ultimately, you're always surrounded by some version of love. And so when you start to understand that love is the most fundamental principle, the fundamental element in the universe, you can really see how not only are you always surrounded by love, but love is coming together at all times to give you your experience. And it's not until you recognize that, and each one of us recognizes that the purpose of time is fulfilled. And so as long as we continue to separate ourselves and disengage from what we know the truth is, or from what we believe the truth might be, which is ultimately always inside us, but as long as we continue to look to outside sources and listen to people who aren't us tell us what experience is, then time will continue, because we need to continue learning the lesson of time, which is that love is all around us, and ultimately that God himself is love. So this person that we think we're looking for is God, who lives inside us, who is the love that we share for our brothers and sisters, for ourselves, for what we think something makes us feel. That's us finally getting in touch with our nature. And that's why a lot of times we get addicted to people, because of how they make us feel, right? Because we don't realize that we have access to this within ourselves. And so most people go out, they find somebody who they think makes them feel a certain way, but really what they find is somebody who gives them permission to feel a certain way. And we get attached to this person who gives us permission, when really we should just be giving that permission to ourselves before we go out and even look for somebody, right? Yeah. So until we figure that out, time's going to continue. And the best thing that you can do is, if you already know this, start letting other people know, right? Each one teach one. And eventually this shit goes away. This whole illusion ends. Till then, you gotta stay awake in the dream, which could explain why I'm up at 3:55 a.m. I do feel the bags hitting over my head, but I'm gonna see if I can't pound out some stuff on the keyboard and make some things work. All right, that's all I got. Thanks for watching this. I love you. God bless you. And I'll speak to you soon. Peace.